Going into the break, Mets won 6 straight before losing their final 2 games before the All-Star game. So now they're 42-48 on the year. So let's give out some superlatives. Joe, I want you to go first. Who was your first half MVP?
I think it has to be Brandon Nimmo. He's been consistent from day one. And even if you go back a couple years, there was some doubts about him being a center fielder defensively. I think there's no doubt going forward, Brandon Nimmo could be the Mets center fielder for years to come. The home run numbers are up. He's pacing to set a new career high in home runs. He's still getting on base on a good clip. Strikeouts are up a little bit, but for a first half that had a ton of inconsistency, Brandon Nimmo was one of the few pieces that was consistent throughout the whole stretch.
Britt, who's yours?
I'm going to go with Lindor. And I know everyone gets frustrated when the Mets don't win, and he seems to be like, public enemy number 1, but he's leading the Mets in WAR. You could have made the case, especially in the last week or two, but heading into the break, that he had a case to go to the All-Star game, and you wouldn't have said like, oh, this guy doesn't deserve it. So, I think he's a guy who, as the Mets go, he goes. And to me, he's a guy who's having a better season than people give him credit for.
I agree with both of yours completely. I have a little bit of recency bias. I was going to go with Francisco Alvarez because he affects both sides of the ball, right? Like, first of all, he's given so much life to this offense just from a chemistry standpoint and all of the clutch hits that he's had. And of course, like I said, recency bias, this last road trip, he's absolutely outstanding, the power, everything. But he's also come so far defensively and has an effect on pitching as well. So I like Francisco Alvarez for that. Joe, who is your most surprising?
I'm going to go with Kodai Senga, and it's not that I didn't think he could be good. I certainly didn't think he would be an all-star in his first year over in America, and certainly at the real beginning, it was a lot of ups and downs. He would have very short outings, then he'd have longer outings. It seems he's really found his groove, and Kodai Senga right now is crazy to think the best pitcher on the Mets starting staff right now with the way that Max and Verlander are performing. So just having Senga be kind of as good as he has been, I think it has to be at least somewhat surprising.
I agree.
Yeah, no, that's a great pick. I wasn't sure if this was good surprising or bad surprising. So
we have a lot of bad surprising.
It doesn't matter, just most surprising.
Oh, I went with bad surprising because, and to your point, like if you had told me that Justin Verlander and Max Scherzer would combined have a 2 WAR and that Kodai Senga would have 1.5. I would just think you were insane. And so I think the most surprising to me has been the tandem of Verlander and Scherzer and wildly underperforming. I know part of it has been injury. It's been crazy suspensions in Scherzer's case. But you look at this group, and I don't think if we had polled anybody this winter, if we had said the Mets have a starter in the All-Star game, you're like, oh, it's Scherzer. Oh, okay, then it's Verlander. Like, you're not saying it's Kodai Senga, right? So I'm kind of, I guess, answering on the flip side of what you answered, in that Kodai Senga is so surprising because it is ridiculously surprising that both Scherzer and Verlander have underperformed to this much of a degree, respective of the back of their baseball cards.
Joe, who is your most dependable?
I'm going to go with David Robertson. When Edwin Diaz went down with the injury during the World Baseball Classic, I mean, there was a lot of fear as to how the end of games would go for the Mets. And David Robertson has frankly been nothing short of fantastic. His ERA is below 2. He's been money for the Mets in a situation where they didn't know who was going to close games and how that would kind of translate with Diaz being out. The whole idea was you have Diaz in the 9th, Robertson in the 8th, and you kind of had this mega back of the bullpen. And Robertson had to step into the shoes of the best closer in baseball after a significant injury. So didn't get as many save opportunities as maybe we would have liked to see, but David Robertson certainly has been reliable in the first half.
Britt?
Yeah, I'm going to agree with Joe. That's who I had as well. I mean, people were wondering, and there still is a huge hole, right, left by Edwin Diaz. But I think if I had told you that they were going to have David Robertson pitch this well, most people would have signed up for that in blood. So, Kodai Senga, obviously, as we talked about, deserves a nod here too, because we were wondering how this guy was going to adjust to so many things, a new ball, a new mound, pitching in a 5-day rotation. And he has been so much more dependable than Scherzer and Verlander, like I was saying. But to me, Robertson has been a guy who has made it a lot less exciting in the end of the game, and that is the best compliment that you could give to a late inning reliever.